Our story begins with a professional killer waiting in an abandoned warehouse. He's been sitting in that chair for 5 straight days, watching his target's house through a window, waiting for the perfect shot. This isn't some amateur. This is a man who's made killing his profession, and patience is part of the job. His rifle is set up, his position is perfect, and all he needs is for his target to appear. After 5 days of nothing, he finally breaks his surveillance to go shopping. While he's out, he calls his boss to explain the situation. The target hasn't shown up once. His boss doesn't care about excuses. He just wants the job done. Finish it as soon as you can and take your money, the boss tells him. So the killer goes back to his post, but not before sitting outside the target's house for a while, studying the guards, memorizing their routines, learning every detail that might give him an edge. Back in his hideout, he resumes his watch. This is his life. Setting up his rifle, waiting, watching. At night, he brushes his teeth and goes to sleep, but even then he's working. His watch is set to alarm every 10 minutes, and every 10 minutes he wakes up to check the target's house. This level of dedication is what makes him one of the best in the business. Then finally, after all that waiting, he hears something. Through his scope, he sees his target entering a room with a dancer. This is it, the moment he's been waiting for. The killer steadies his breathing, lines up his shot. The target is telling the girl to dance, completely unaware that death is watching him through a window. The killer decides to wait until the target sits down on the sofa. A stationary target is an easy target. But at the exact moment he pulls the trigger, the dancer moves. She steps right in front of the target, and the bullet meant for him hits her instead. She drops dead instantly. The killer tries to fire again, but the guards are already moving, closing the windows. The target is gone. After 5 days of perfect patience, one random movement has ruined everything. Now the killer has to move fast. He breaks down his rifle, packs it in a sack, and cleans the entire place. No evidence can be left behind. He flees on an electric scooter, dropping items along the way to confuse any pursuit. After some distance, he ditches the scooter too and continues on foot. His helmet goes into the river. Every action is calculated to make him harder to track. He ducks into a shop and heads straight for the bathroom. There, he completely transforms himself. He even cleans the entire bathroom afterward. No hair, no clothing fibers, nothing. That could identify him. Then he calls for a car and heads to the airport. At the airport, he tosses his gun in a trash bin and gets in line for a ticket. But something catches his attention. A police dog is staring right at him. The killer's trained to notice these things, and this makes him nervous. He heads to another bathroom to clean himself again, just in case the dog picked up some scent. Then he's back in line, using a fake identity, Felix, to buy his visa and plane ticket. On the plane, his boss calls. The man is furious. You ruined the whole job and just left. What did you do? The killer's anger matches his boss's. He smashes the phone and settles into his seat. But even on the plane, he can't relax. There's a strange-looking guy who keeps catching his attention. When he lands, he immediately buys another ticket under a different name. But that strange guy is still there, waiting. This is enough to make the killer delay his plans. He gets a hotel room and sets up a trap on the door. Then he sits there all night with a knife, ready to kill anyone who tries to enter. But nobody comes. The next morning, he boards another plane back to his home in the Dominican Republic. The moment he reaches his house, he knows something's wrong. There's a man's shoe print by the gate and a burnt cigarette. Someone's been here. Maybe they still are. He raises his gun and rushes toward the house. Inside, he finds bloodstains. His worst fears are confirmed. Someone broke in. He immediately calls his girlfriend, and what he hears makes his blood run cold. She's in the hospital. He races there to find her unconscious in a coma. Her brother is with her and tells him what happened. 2 assassins came looking for him, a man and a woman. When they couldn't find him, they attacked his girlfriend instead. She fought back hard enough to save her life, but she's seriously injured. Before she escaped and hid, she saw the killers leave in a taxi with a green roof. The killer decides to stay by her side all night, and eventually, she wakes up. Through her pain, she tells him everything. They grabbed her, tortured her, tried to get information about him, but she endured it all and told them nothing. Seeing the woman he loves broken like this changes something in him. This isn't about a failed job anymore. This is personal. That very night, he goes home and digs up his hidden box of weapons. The next day, he's driving through the city, searching for that green-roofed taxi. His girlfriend's brother gave him that detail, and now it's his only lead. After a full day of searching yields nothing, he comes up with a new plan. That night, he goes straight to the taxi company's office and takes the manager hostage. He logs into their computer system and searches for any driver who might have picked up 2 people and taken them to his address. Once he finds the information, he grabs the file and leaves. The next day, he waits outside the taxi station for that specific driver. When the man starts his shift, the killer follows him. Then, posing as a regular passenger, he gets in the back seat. The poor driver has no idea he's driving around with death sitting behind him. When the driver turns to ask him something, he sees the gun. Terrified, he assumes it's a robbery and offers his wallet. But the killer has no interest in money. He presses the gun to the driver's head and asks where he dropped off those 2 killers. The driver, desperate to save his life, tells him everything. He picked them up from a private airport, drove them to a house, waited outside, then drove them back. He remembers that when they came out, one of them had a bad leg injury, but he didn't ask questions. People who use private airports aren't the kind you ask questions. The driver begs for his life, promises to take him anywhere, tell him anything. The killer tells him to drive to a quiet spot. The killer shoots him dead. No witnesses, no loose ends. Using another fake identity, the killer flies to New Orleans. He's hunting now, tracking the 2 assassins who hurt his girlfriend. Once there, he rents a van and goes to a secret storage unit where he's kept guns and identification cards. He switches the van's license plates and then does something unexpected. He gets a job at a cleaning company. They give him supplies and a uniform, and he heads straight to his boss's company building. A janitor can go anywhere, and that's exactly what he needs. But he needs a pass to get inside. He waits for an opportunity, and it comes in the form of a delivery truck. Once the delivery guy leaves, the killer pulls out his gun and heads straight for his boss's office. Inside, he finds the secretary. He holds her at gunpoint and forces her to tie up his boss. Then he demands answers about the 2 killers. His boss claims innocence, swearing he had nothing to do with it. He says the client who originally hired the killer is angry about the failed job. They probably sent the assassins. The boss tells him to disappear, change his identity, stay hidden for a few years. But the killer isn't buying it. He picks up a nail gun and fires it into the laptop. The threat is clear. Talk or the next one goes in your head. But the boss stays defiant, insisting he's told everything he knows. This pushes the killer over the edge. He fires a nail into the boss's chest. As the boss lies dying, the killer demands information about the 2 assassins, promising to call an ambulance if he talks. But it's too late. The boss dies without revealing anything. Frustrated, the killer turns to the secretary. She's smart enough to see her death coming and makes him an offer. She knows he won't let her live, but she wants her family to get her life insurance money. If he stages her death as an accident, they'll get the payout easily. In exchange, she'll give him 2 identities. The killer agrees. He unties her and lets her lead the way, but she starts begging for her life, promising to do whatever he says. When he goes to open a garage, she screams and tries to run, hoping someone will hear. But no one comes. He gets her inside and she finally tells him about the 2 killers. She even shows him a postcard with the name of the person who ordered his death. With this crucial information in hand, he snaps her neck and pushes her down some stairs. To anyone who finds her, it'll look like an accident. Her children will get their money. He takes his boss's body to a storage unit and burns it. The ashes get scattered from a bridge. The van gets thoroughly cleaned, the fake plates destroyed. By the next day, when he returns the van to the rental company, there's no trace of what happened. Now he's in Florida, hunting the assassins. His plan is simple. Kill the man first, then the woman. He stakes out the male killer's house and spots him immediately. The slight limp gives him away. This is the man who was injured at his house. He spends all day watching, waiting for the right moment. That evening, he follows them to a casino, keeping them under surveillance. Later that night, he goes back to the killer's house. Around midnight, when the man returns home alone, he makes his move. But the dog sees him and starts barking. He quickly tosses it food laced with sleeping pills. Once the dog is out, he breaks in, but the other killer is ready for him. He knew someone would come for revenge. A brutal fight breaks out between 2 professionals. Our killer starts gaining the upper hand, so the other man pulls a gun. Our killer ducks into a room and shouts out, "John, I know your real name. Come on, kill me." John moves toward the room to finish him off, but our killer is ready. He fires through the door, killing John instantly. The gunshot wakes the dog, who runs to save its owner, but it's too late. The killer locks the dog in the garage, throws a petrol bomb at the house, and disappears as the whole place goes up in flames. Next target, Teresa, the woman who helped torture his girlfriend. Another fake ID, another flight, this time to New York. He rents a car and drives to her house, waiting outside all day. That night, he follows her to a fancy restaurant. She's with a man, but as soon as he leaves, our killer walks in. Teresa recognizes him immediately. She knows why he's there. With remarkable calm, she orders an expensive drink. If this is her last meal, she's going to enjoy it. She asks if he killed their boss. He nods. She takes a sip and starts talking. She claims she was just doing a job, following orders, no personal grudge against his girlfriend. She didn't even want to torture her. That was all John. She tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. But even this explanation doesn't change anything. The killer tells her he's not letting her go. Teresa suggests they walk to a quiet park to settle this. While walking down some stairs, she trips and falls, reaching out for help. But the killer doesn't take her hand. Instead, he shoots her. He leaves immediately, catching a flight to Chicago. Now he's after the client who ordered the hit. Research reveals the man is extremely wealthy, which means killing him won't be easy. The killer watches the house, studying every detail. When the man drives out, the killer casually walks by and slips into the garage. The door to the house is locked with a special mechanism. He photographs it, researches it, and orders a cloning device specifically for that lock. While waiting, he transfers all his money to an overseas account under yet another identity, Jefferson. He buys a gun from a local dealer. When the cloning device arrives, he books a gym session in the same building where the client lives. He swipes a janitor's pass, makes a copy, and uses it to get inside. He goes straight to the client's room, but surprisingly, the man doesn't recognize him. He keeps asking who he is, how he got in. The killer thinks he's pretending, so he shows him the postcard with the client's name, the one the secretary gave him. Suddenly, it clicks for the client. This is the killer who failed the job. And then the client reveals something shocking. He had nothing to do with the hit on the killer. When the job failed, he accepted it. People make mistakes. But the killer's boss said no. He said it was the killer's fault and he needed to be punished. The boss demanded another $15,000 to have his own man killed and to wipe out all evidence. The truth hits hard. His own boss orchestrated everything. The boss was furious that someone he trained had failed. Worse, he was terrified that if the killer stayed alive, the police might eventually trace everything back to him. After listening carefully, the killer actually believes him. But before leaving, he warns the client never to reveal his identity to anyone. The terrified man agrees. With all his enemies dead and the truth revealed, the killer returns home to the Dominican Republic. His girlfriend has recovered significantly, and now he spends his time taking care of her. The man who lived by the gun, who turned killing into an art form, who crossed continents for revenge, he leaves it all behind.